Hello, Internet. It is I, the Malik Aaron, and welcome back to Box Office Recap. So, November. Eek. Oof. Wow. It was not good. Not at all. It was pretty pathetic in the grand scheme of things. Like, there's very few positives, a whole lot of negatives. And, historically, usually the box office, how it works is that after summer, things like starting from like really August, things enter a slump. You have some hits here and there, but overall it's just a big slump. And then November is supposed to be like, a big shot in the arm. It's supposed, the blockbusters are supposed to come back, and Thanksgiving is supposed to be massive, and it's going to lead to a great, Christmas season. That's how it usually plays out. This year, no. November was kind of dreadful. Really, only one movie that truly shined, and it was the one movie that anyone was gonna watch in November, and that was Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. But we also got some surprise hits, well, surprise specialty hits in the form of The Chosen and Knives Out 2: Glass Onion. Okay. Those were way more impressive than literally anything else that came out during the month, with the exception of Black Panther. So let's get this over with. So, all right. So November 4th, first weekend. Boy, it got off to a lackluster start, to say the least. I mean, usually the first week of November, it can be a pretty big weekend. A big movie can come out. I mean, in the past, we've had trying to think of some off the top of my head. There was Wreck-It Ralph, Big Hero 6, and Interstellar, Spectre, Peanuts movie, Doctor Strange, Thor Ragnarok, Bohemian Rhapsody. Definitely not Terminator Dark Fate. Um, but yeah, like usually you want a big movie to start out and kick November off. That didn't happen this year. No, we had a bunch of mid-range movies at best opening, and really none of them impressed. So let's go through them one at a time. So Armageddon Time. Wow. Surprise, surprise. Another Oscar bait movie flopping. I mean, it's pretty much what I said, what I've been saying the past few weeks when it comes to both I think my October recap and some of the prediction videos I made is that Oscar bait is poison. It's box office poison. It's not just a theory anymore. It's a fact. And the performance of Armageddon Time is evidence of that fact, because God, like I predicted, like I wasn't predicting high numbers. I was predicting like 500,000 to like a million opening weekend. I said it's probably going to lean more towards 500,000. Then its final total will be like 3 to 5 million. It couldn't even do that. It's not even. It didn't even get close to 3 million, because its opening weekend, at least its wide opening weekend, was 792,000. So it was right in my range, which is good. What wasn't good was its legs right afterwards. It fell 53% the next weekend, and then it fell off the earth the weekend after that. And that's it. So, yeah, big miss right here. Nothing else to say, but except it took an L. It's definitely not the only L that happened this month, but it was our first L. Next up is Banshees of Inisherin, I guess. I give up trying to pronounce this name. I predicted, I think, the same ish for this. I didn't expect great things from this either, because again, Oscar bait is box office poison. So I think I predicted between like 500,000 a million. Again, I think its final tally was like, I predicted like $5 million. It shot past that, it had a opening weekend of $2 million, which I'm like, okay, ish, and it made like it's down by like 8 million after that. So it exceeded my expectations, but considering my expectations were through the floor, that's not saying anything. That's literally saying nothing. So yeah, did a lot better than Armageddon Time, but still, it was a low earner when it comes to Oscar baiting movies. So yeah, nothing else to say about this one. Next, we gotta go back. Okay, next, One Piece film Red. Really, the domestic performance of this movie did not matter in the slightest because literally its domestic haul was gravy because it was already a hit overseas. So it didn't even matter how much it made here. But I predicted it would open with like, well, actually before that, before my I made my video, I was thinking, okay, judging by how other anime movies have done this year, Jujutsu Kaisen Zero and Dragon Ball Super Hero, both opened with like 18, 21 million. I was thinking, okay, this has the potential to be on par with those because One Piece is one of the most recognizable anime out there. It's one, I think, the longest lasting anime, like 1,000 plus episodes. Is a show I know for a fact I will never watch because why, how am I gonna get through 1,000 episodes? I can't even get through a 26 episode season, let alone 1,000. But still, is highly recognizable. There's literally nothing interesting happening that first weekend of November. So I was thinking it would make like 15 million opening weekend, but then I saw its Thursday preview, which was kind of underwhelming, like 1.6. I was like, ugh, that's not great. So I lowered it to 10 million, and it got close, 9.3 million. Didn't hit double digits, but it got somewhat close. But with its opening weekend, I knew the red flags were popping up. They were popping up because look at this opening weekend's, like, look at these holds. A 44% dip Friday to Saturday and a 34% dip from Saturday to Sunday. Just a horrific plunge. I think when it comes to overall movies, let me look this up. Front loaded. It's number 16. Damn. So number 16, ever so slightly more front loaded than Dragon Ball Superhero, which is very bad sign. Um so yeah, but anime movies are historically front loaded because all the fans show up day 1 and then they don't show up after that. So that didn't really surprise me all that much. What did surprise me was it's week 2 because it had one of the most, maybe the most horrific second weekend I've seen ever, or at least it's one of the most horrific. But it's definitely just, I can't even describe it. It fell 84%. 84% second weekend. Wow. I mean, we've seen some horrific drops already this year with Morbius, with Halloween Ends, with Dragon Ball Superhero, with even Jujutsu Kaisen Zero. But this takes the cake when it comes to big ass drops. Like, it's literally, its Friday to Friday drop was like 90%. I haven't seen a drop like that since freaking High School Musical 3. And for that movie, that was because that Friday was Halloween. So obviously, the target audience for that were not going to go to the movie theaters on Halloween. So at least there was an excuse. Here was no real excuse. I mean, sure, there was, well, I guess you could say, well, there was Black Panther Wakanda Forever. But yeah, 90% drop is a 90% drop. Nothing, there's literally nothing positive to say after that. And it's only made like less than 13 million. I don't know if this, I can't imagine the actual total is better than those. But yeah, I knew it would make less than 20 million, but I thought it would at least make to 15. At least 15. It couldn't even do that. So yeah, it's kind of embarrassing, but again, domestic performance did not matter in the slightest. But still, it could have done better. It definitely could have done better. But it wasn't like a bomb or anything, but still, could have done better. So yeah, that was the first weekend of November. Very, very, very underwhelming weekend. Definitely not the way you want to start the holiday season. Um, but thankfully, the next weekend, the box office finally got the shot in the arm it desperately needed for so long. And that shot in the arm came with Black Panther Wakanda Forever. Literally the only big money hit of the entire month. Well, it was expected to be the only big money hit of November. And it certainly lived up to that. So let's talk about this. So Black Panther Wakanda Forever. Black Panther 2. As you know, this movie had a bit of a rough development. Um, with the first movie, like the stars aligned for that. It was like the biggest thing. It was number one for like 5 weeks. It opened with like 200 million in February of all months. Like 700 million domestic, 1.3 billion worldwide. No brainer. It's a no brainer to make a sequel. And unfortunately, as we all know, Chadwick Boseman, he tragically passed away August of 2020. Unexpected, shocking. No one saw it coming. Died of colon cancer. No one knew a thing. Although some people did, I think I already mentioned this in my prediction video. Some people did notice that he looked like really frail in like an interview, which happened like a few months before his death, but no one was quite sure if he was actually sick or not until the tragic news happened. So then Marvel was put in a real predicament. Do they cancel the movie? Do they move forward without, do they recast T'Challa, or do they just, you know, move on without the character? And they moved on without the character. And now we're here with the sequel. So obviously, this matching the first movie, run was completely unrealistic because, again, Black Panther, the original Black Panther, stars aligned. Everything that could have gone right went right. Like, it really did. Like, it was crazy. Like, everything was in that movie's favor. But here, like, not so much. I mean, obviously, trying to. Like, it's hard for lightning to strike twice. It's impossible for lightning to strike twice. And that's especially true in the movie world. You could have, like, a big unexpected hit, and you try to make a sequel to that hit, and it just doesn't work. It just doesn't land. You have to ask why. Why did this happen? Well, with here, it wasn't like as severe. It wasn't a bomb or anything, but it definitely took a dip in comparison to the first movie. But with my predictions, I predicted it would open between 160 and 180, and it hit 181. So it did ever so slightly better. And its opening weekend was obviously aided by Veterans Day, and its Friday to Saturday drop was 33%. Pretty normal for like an MCU flick, for really any fanboy flick nowadays, or fangirl flick, depending on like what movie it is. Yeah, 181 million. That's good. Its second weekend wasn't great. It fell 63%, which is much worse than the first movie. Actually, let me compare it to the first movie if I can find it. Okay, here it is. So going to Black Panther, the first one. So that opened with like 202 million. Well, actually, it was like 242, but that was a holiday weekend, a 4-day holiday weekend. Made like 40 million on a Monday, which is insane. But yeah, Black Panther fell 45%. So 63% is obviously much worse than that. But It did have a better second weekend hold than Doctor Strange 2 and Thor Love and Thunder. Those fell within like the high 60 range. This was the low 60s. So, I mean, that's not too bad, even if it could have been better. And Thanksgiving was number one with a vengeance. It just demolished everything. Like, there was no competition in sight for Thanksgiving. It felt like 31%, which is very solid. Very, very solid. 45 million that weekend. Then it plunged post Thanksgiving with 62% drop this past weekend. I wasn't really surprised about that. Like, post Thanksgiving, movies historically fall off that weekend because obviously with Thanksgiving, there's an artificial boost that happens like the day after Thanksgiving, that Friday, and then everything crashes afterwards. And that was certainly the case here. But as you can see here, number one, number one, number one, number one. It's been number one for 4 weeks straight. I have no doubt will be number one for 5 weeks straight, this coming weekend. But as of December 3rd, no, December 5th. All right, December 5th, it has made 394 million domestic. Well, 394.8 million domestic. So it will soon reach my 400 to 500 million range. It will surpass Doctor Strange 2. It will be the second or third biggest movie of the year domestically, depending on how Avatar 2 does. And, worldwide, it's done worse internationally, but that was the case for the original Black Panther, so that's not a surprise. It's made like 734 million, so it's gonna make at least more than half of the first movie, which, I thought, part of me felt it could have made $1 billion, but I don't think Marvel's going to complain a whole lot with this number, because obviously it can make a bit more cash after this. So it still has a little bit to go when it comes to box office. But yeah, Black Panther Wakanda Forever wasn't an overwhelming hit like the original, but still did all right. For normal standards, for 2022 movie standards, still did fine. I mean, domestically, it will be the biggest MCU movie of the year. Worldwide, it'll be number two. So, again, I don't think Marvel's going to complain too much. Although there have been reports that Marvel, they looked at Phase 4 and were like, this could have gone better. We might need to change some things. And this is supposed to be like the end of Phase 4, and literally Phase 4 can be described as, well, that happened. That's the only way you could really describe it. Like, it was kind of a big nothing burger, with the exception of say No Way Home. That was like the big movie of Phase 4. But besides that, it was just kind of like bleh. Like, why did this happen? Hopefully things change with Phase 5 and 6 as we go on, but yeah, Phase 4 definitely could have been much more than it was. Definitely could have been much better than it was. But at least Black Panther Wakanda Forever, it made money. It gave, movie theaters a blockbuster, something they haven't had in a long time. And it was the only movie in November to make substantial money. So, yeah. But that's it for Black Panther Wakanda Forever. And things go downhill from here. Boy, do they. Okay, so first, let's talk about The Chosen, because I didn't make a prediction video on that because I don't cover Fathom Events movies. They're too weird to predict, so I just don't bother. But let's talk about The Chosen. So, Chosen Season 3, Episodes 1 and 2. It's apparently based off this show that I don't watch, where it's about Jesus. Specifically here, it's mainly just like the story of Jesus. And I guess they wanted to do like this. I remember seeing like just constant ads on YouTube all the time, like the week it was coming out. It was getting really annoying. But it was clear like they wanted this to feel like an event for like the fans of the show. And it released and it definitely did well considering what it is for like basically a limited run. It opened with like 8.7 million, which is literally higher than most movies that have come out this month, which is a very sad thing to say. Um, but yeah, like obviously it was going to make a majority of its money those first 3 days, and then it fell off afterwards. It fell 82%, then 80%. But this was obviously never meant to be like a long term movie. It was meant to kind of be, you know, like One Piece film Red. Yes, I'm literally comparing a faith based movie to an anime movie. So I can literally make the whole joke of, I have the power of God and anime on my side. That whole old classic joke. But yeah. Yeah, this run, while it wasn't like a huge run, it still did pretty good considering what it is. So, and it was easily one of the more impressive performances that came out in November. So yeah, I just wanted to talk about it because it was literally like the big piece of news that happened that weekend. Well, besides Black Panther 2, still dominating, even though it felt like 63%, but still. The Chosen did quite good, considering what it is. Now, next up, The Menu, which had a normal release. Um, I wasn't expecting much initially from this movie. I was thinking, oh, this is gonna tank. They're not gonna care. And then the sooner, the closer it came out, there was like all this positive talk about it. Then had a decent Thursday number. I'm like, okay, this could do a little better. So I predicted between like 8 and 10 million its opening weekend, and it hit 9 right in the middle of my prediction. So I was satisfied. And the final total that I predicted was between like 20 to 30 million, and it's so far has hit 25 million as of December 5th. Yes, December 5th. I don't expect it to get that much farther, but it hit within the realm of my predictions, so I have nothing really to complain about. I mean, it costs like $30 million, so overall its total isn't great. It's not like a smash hit or anything, but it could have been worse. It could have been a whole lot worse. So good on you, The Menu. You didn't embarrass yourself. You avoided disaster. So yeah, its performance could have been worse. Speaking of worse, She Said. Let's talk about that. Because God, it did horrible. Really, really bad. Now, when November started, I actually thought this would do better than The Menu. I know. Hear me out, okay? Initially, my thought process was, okay, this is from Universal, and The Menu's from like Searchlight, which is like a main division within like 20th Century Studios, which is now the whole Disney conglomerate. But this is straight up from Universal, so I thought, okay, it'll do better because of that. Boy, I was stupid. So the closer it came out, I was like, okay, this is not going the way I thought it would. And it's like Thursday preview was like 160,000. I was like, God, I haven't seen a preview number that low in forever. So I was like, okay, it'll open between like 2 to 3 million, and it did hit 2 to 3 million. It hit 2.2, which is not good at all. I mean, sure, it was only like 2,000 theaters, but still, that's just a horrendous number. And then I thought it would I forgot the final tally. I think it was between like 5 to 10 in that range. And it has hit over $5 million, but it's not going to get any further than that because it felt like 48% over Thanksgiving, and then a 65% tip the weekend after. So yeah, this movie doomed. It was screwed because again, Oscar bait, box office poison. Another example right here. And the thing is that this movie, obviously the subject matter was going to be a was going to be a turnoff for a lot of people, because obviously this is about, you know, the Me Too movement, like, and whatnot. And it's like anything, it's sexual harassment is like one of those taboo subjects when it comes to movies. There's like that, politics in general, abortion, stuff like that. It's just a big no-no when it comes to commercial success. And yeah, this is another example of that. Just that of the subject matter killing the movie. So yeah, nothing else to say, but yeah, it bombed. It bombed hard. I think it cost like $30 million or something like that, 20 to 30. I don't know the exact cost, but I know for a fact it's a disaster. Well, not a huge disaster. The big disaster didn't come till Thanksgiving, but this was pretty close. It was still a huge flop. So, yeah, and another L for Universal. Universal, my God, they've had the most inconsistent run ever this year. They've had like literally the highest of highs with Minions 2, Jurassic World Dominion, Black Phone, Nope, Bad Guys, and then the lowest of lows was like She Said, Bros, Easter Sunday, Ambulance, probably missing a few, but yeah, really inconsistent. But yeah, that was, the weekend prior to Thanksgiving, and again, a pathetic weekend, because historically, you'd have like a big movie open the weekend before Thanksgiving. We've seen that with some Harry Potter movies, Twilight movies, Hunger Games movies, hell, Ghostbusters Afterlife last year. Those were all something, but this year just had nothing. Nothing. Just this was completely just a throwaway weekend. Like the first weekend and the third week of November were throwaways. You could have had a biggish movie open, but they chose not to. The other studios chose not to do that. So that's why November looks as weak as it is. But then we go to Thanksgiving. Now, historically, Thanksgiving, big, big weekend for movies, particularly Disney movies. You know, there's been a long history of just Thanksgiving being like a time where holdovers thrive, big movies come out, everyone wins. Not this year. No. It was um it was I don't even have words to describe Thanksgiving. There's nothing I can do to describe Thanksgiving. Absolutely nothing. But let's talk about one thing first. Before anything else, Glass Onion. Okay. So Glass Onion, a Knives Out mystery, is Knives Out 2. Knives Out came out 2019, Thanksgiving weekend, went up against Frozen 2 with no fear, and it did extremely well. Opened with like 26 million for the 3 day, 40 million for like the 5 day. Had really, really good legs. Actually, let me look it up. Yeah, like 165 million domestic, 300 million worldwide. Huge number, for a movie like this. Like, it's very strong numbers, downright fantastic. So you think, oh, the sequel or like sequels, because Lionsgate would want to make. This was from Lionsgate. Am I wrong? Yeah, it was Lionsgate. One would think, oh, they want to make a franchise out of this, but in a shocking turn of events, I think Ryan Johnson, he made like this deal with Netflix for like, it was like a 200 million deal where the Knives Out sequel or sequels or whatever would come to Netflix, and you're just like, oh, well, that feels like a missed opportunity. But then a few months ago, there was this news that Netflix was going to do something interesting. They were gonna have this was gonna have, it says here, a 1 week only theatrical sneak preview, which started November 23rd and it would last to November 29th. Yeah. Yeah, the whole week. where it was going to be in like almost close to 700 theaters. Um, and its box office numbers were going to be tallied. And after that, it was going to be gone from theaters and it's going to go to Netflix December 23rd. So this experiment, turned some heads. People were like, huh, this is interesting. But I wasn't expecting much out of it. I thought the whole thing was too weird. I thought the theater count was too low. I was like, this is going to make nothing. And then, boy, I look dumb again because this movie did really, really well considering its limited run, literally, and like the amount of theaters and its time in theaters. It opened with like 9.2 million in like with like a 13K per theater average. And I think its total average like that whole time was like close to 19K, which is stellar. It was easily the most impressive movie to come out over Thanksgiving. Let that sink in. But and it made like 15 million throughout like its one and only week in theaters, which considering the type of movie it is, type of release it had, this is downright spectacular. Even The Chosen had more theaters than this, and it still did really well. And even now, like I think like the CEO or something on Netflix, they were like, "Yeah, we kind of left money on the table. We could have done more, but oh well. What's done is done." But this whole release could inspire other future big budget Netflix movies to get the same treatment. Because I know Netflix, they have released movies in theaters before, but none of them have done even remotely. None of their performances were even remotely comparable to this. So yeah, I imagine this is not going to be. It'll be dumb for this not to be. For this to be like the last of these, because yeah, I think Netflix are going to want to try this again with some other movies because they can make a little bit of cash out of it. But yeah, Glass Onion, I argue, was the big winner of Thanksgiving because it was literally the only impressive performer that whole holiday weekend. So yeah, so big win for Ryan Johnson for Netflix, and yeah, that's really it. But the rest of Thanksgiving, oof, oh man, where do I start? All right, let's start with Bones and All. I predicted it was gonna. I think its final total. I don't remember the exact number. I think it's 5 day weekend. I predicted it would be like $5 million. I think 3 to 5. I don't remember. And it's like 3 day was like 2 to 3 or something. I was thinking this movie was like it was gonna make most of its money that throughout its first 2 days because of Timothy Chalamet. Because Timothy Chalamet has a big, big, big female audience, like here, similar to say like a Harry Styles, where I imagine all of them are going to show up day one and then just disappear after that. And boy, it did not live up to my expectations. My expectations weren't even high to begin with, but it opened with like what 2.2 million for its like wide release, and including these, I'm gonna guess it's like it's gonna have to subtract its limited run because it had like a 5 day limited run before it went wide. 3.6, so didn't live up to my expectations at all. I think my final total was like 10 million. I don't see it making it to that. Um, Reason for this, why it didn't do good, well, it's very self-explanatory. The subject matter. This movie was all about cannibalism. A cannibalistic love story. Who on earth was that going to appeal to? And I've heard things, some people literally call it like the most disgusting movie of the whole year. So I don't know if that'd be a selling point or not. But yeah, obviously this movie was kind of doomed with the subject matter. Same with like She Said, because again, unappealing, very unappealing subject matter. So yeah, I'm not super surprised it didn't do well. I guess this is another example of Oscar bait, but it's not the last example. Not for like this weekend, but I'll get to that in due time. Next up, we have Devotion. I don't know. Part of me felt this could have done a little better. I guess it could have. I don't know. I was expecting like a blockbuster or anything, but I thought it could have been, a bit of a mini surprise, like what Midway was back in 2019. Boy, did that not happen. Um, I predicted its opening weekend would be like 6 million. Well, at least it's 3 day to be six, and it's 5 day to be like 10. It got close ish. It hit like 5.9 for the 3 day weekend, so I got close there. But the 5 day weekend, I fell a bit short. It hit like $9 million, and at a lackluster second weekend, it's now made like 13 point almost 14 million as of December 5th. I don't see it reaching my 20 to 30 uh number. It could crawl to 20, but that's I don't know about that. But yeah, very weak. Very, very weak. I guess it's just because no one really cared. There was not much attention surrounding it. I looked at its like cinema score and it was like, oh, it's so good. Like its word of mouth is so good, and then it just never really materialized, like other movies this year, where word of mouth like propelled movies like say Top Gun Maverick to insane heights, and yeah, that just didn't happen here. So yeah, it underperformed, didn't do well. It's kind of a bomb, but still wasn't the biggest bomb of the month. We'll get to that in a little bit. But yeah, Devotion, bleh. That's all I'm gonna say. Just bleh. Just a big old underperformer. Next up, we got The Fablemans, another underperformer, and another Oscar bait flop. Literally, Oscar bait movies went what, one, two, three, like 0 for 5 this month. Not a single one of them did well. And this I kind of thought would do the best out of all of them, or at least it had the potential to, because it's Steven Spielberg. I mean, sure, his track record recently hasn't been too great, but this man's made some of the most iconic movies of all time: Jaws, E.T., Jurassic Park. You think his name would draw people in, but nope, not at all. So, and the thing has had like a super low theater count, like a little over 600. So I wasn't expecting much out of it anyway. So I think my prediction was like 2 to 3 million for the 3 day, and like 3 to 5 for the 5 day weekend. I think in that video I was like, if I get this wrong, I'm gonna laugh at myself. Well, I was kind of right, because it made 2.2 million for the 3 day weekend, which is really weak, especially considering Glass Onion's performance, which was in a similar amount of theaters and was literally going to be in theaters for 1 week only. Like, this is pitiful in comparison to that. And I think it's 5 day. I'm going to guesstimate here. Was like a little over 3. Yeah, it looks like it was a little over 3. So it hit my predictions barely, but still, bleh, just real, real sad. It had a meh second weekend, okay-ish second weekend, but I think it's doomed. The writing's on the wall. It's only made like 5.6 million so far. I don't think it's gonna reach 10 the way it's going, unless something like really weird happens. But yeah, this is definitely going to be one of Spielberg's worst performing movies ever. Even worse than West Side Story. But at least West Side Story, that had more of a chance. This never had a chance to begin with. And I think the movie cost like $40 million. $40 million. So yeah, big bomb for Universal. Uh Yeah, just Universal. Like what was 2022 for Universal? But at least like most of their bombs were like mid-budget, low-budget movies. It wasn't like they had like a mega budget bomb as far as I know. Although I guess there was The Northman, but that was like through Focus Features, which is a division within Universal. Because that's the closest thing they have to like a big budget bomb. But looking at, I hit the wrong thing. 2020. Here we go. Yeah, most of these bombs weren't exactly high budget. So at least Universal has that going for them, with the exception of Northman. But even then, the cost for that wasn't extreme. But last and certainly not least, Strange World. Speaking of mega bombs, big budget bombs, this is the cream of the crop right here. This is an ultra disaster that I never even could have imagined. Like, I had a feeling this movie wasn't going to do great for a long time. And recently I've seen like this talk regarding this movie. And people wondered if Disney sabotaged the movie, if they just screwed it from the very beginning. Honestly, I kind of believe that because literally from day one in its marketing campaign, there was just they didn't even try. They put in no effort at all. They gave you no reason to be excited about this movie, which is weird because this is their Thanksgiving movie. Disney has like Thanksgiving is Disney's weekend essentially. I mean, they've released so much stuff over Thanksgiving weekend. It's crazy. I mean, even like the past decade with like Tangled, The Muppets, what else? Frozen, uh, Moana, Coco, Ralph Breaks the Internet, even Encanto. Well, I guess Frozen 2, that came out the weekend before Thanksgiving, but it still dominated Thanksgiving. Even Good Dinosaur, as big of a bomb that was, at least it wasn't a Strange World. Because God Almighty, ugh, even my predictions, I predicted it would open between like, I don't know, like, I was thinking it would have like this is like before I made my video. I was thinking, okay, it's not going to be on the same level as Frozen or Tangled or Moana. There's zero chance of that happening. Um, it could reach like what 40 million for the 5-day weekend if it's lucky. It could reach Encanto numbers. That was my thought process initially, but the closer we got to this got to release, the more I was like, yeah, no, it's not even gonna make Encanto money. So my final prediction was like, okay, 15 to 20 million for the 3-day, 25 to 30 for the 5-day, and its final title tally was going to be between like 50 to 70 million dollars. That's what I predicted. That's what I was sticking with. I was so wrong. Like, cause it only had like a 5-day weekend of $18 million and a 3-day weekend of $12 million. It could even reach my rock bottom predictions. It went lower than my rock bottom predictions, which never feels good. And let's just compare for just shits and giggles. Let's compare this to other movies. Okay, Encanto last year. That opened with okay, 40 million for the 5-day weekend, last year. And that wasn't even a hit. This could even make half of that over the 5-day period. Hell, and Encanto made more in 2 days than Strange World made in like 3. Like, goddamn. And the more you compare to other movies, the worse it really gets. Like, say, Moana. Let's compare it to that. Just to make myself laugh. Moana, 2016, the big Thanksgiving movie, opened at 15 million that Wednesday and 9 million the day after that, and made like 82 million for the 5-day weekend. Like it literally made about as much in 2 days as Strange World has made in 2 weeks, the 2.5 weeks. Like, is it really setting in just how big of a failure Strange World is? But I'm not done. Let's a comparison some people have made, which I think is a pretty uh, it's a comparison I didn't even think about. But I was like, yeah, that makes total sense. Treasure Planet from literally 20 years ago, same weekend. Treasure Planet back in '02, that had a opening weekend of like $12 million. Had like a bit of a worse 5-day weekend of like 16 million, but that still Treasure Planet. I know it has some love now, but it doesn't change the fact that this is one of the biggest bombs ever in cinema history. And it was primarily, I think, one of the reasons why 2D was killed off in theaters because of its performance. So yeah, but even like at least with Treasure Planet, that was 20 years ago. So I imagine with ticket price like inflation, it looks a whole lot worse for Strange World. So yeah, yeah, ugh. Mm. So I guess the big question is, what went wrong here? What went wrong? What happened? What caused this catastrophe? Well, as I already said, the marketing was pathetic. It was just abysmal. They didn't even try at all. It's just like again, it's weird. You think they'd put a lot of effort into their Thanksgiving movie, but they didn't. They put in no effort, and as a result, nobody watched. But that wasn't the only thing. Okay, as you all know, because just like Lightyear, almost an exact replica of Lightyear, this movie, the whole talk about this around this movie centered around the fact that it had a gay character. And when I found out about that, I was like, oh my god, here we go again. Like, ugh. Like, and now, just like Lightyear, that whole, the gay character is going to be a part of it. It's going to be its whole identity now. That's going to be what it's remembered for. But do I think that killed its box office? I mean, I know like Disney refused to release it in like certain countries because they had like anti LGBTQ plus rights. Like, any country like that was a no go. Its international run is actually worse than its domestic run. So, ugh. And yeah, like obviously I can't say how much of an effect it really had. There's no hard data, for me to say, oh yeah, the gay character killed this movie. No, no, but I know it's like its audience scores were like super low, super weak. I think I got like a B or something from Cinema Score. I'm gonna check. I think it was a B. Let me check really fast. Off screen. Let me see. Strange World, Strange World. Yeah, B, which is pretty abysmal for a family movie. And its Rotten Tomatoes, like its audience score was like pretty abysmal too. I think it was like in the 40s. But I'm gonna check that too. Because it may have changed. It may have gone even lower. But I'm gonna check. Um Strange World, where are you? I don't see it. There it is. Audience score. Show it. Oh, 66%. I thought it went down. Doesn't change the fact the movie's a disaster. It's gonna lose a whole lot of money, way more than Lightyear. it's it's expected to lose like, I think the numbers I've been seeing are like 150 to 200 million. I think so. Like God, it's the bomb of the year. I thought Lightyear would be the bomb of the year. But yeah, it's looks like it's projected to have a $147 million loss Yeet. um, yeah. But yeah, big bomb, big disaster, big L of not just November, but the whole year. I don't know if it's lost more money than Lightyear. I can't really say. How much did Lightyear lose? Lightyear. Blah, 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 blah. Uh, yeah, Lightyear doesn't say how much it lost, but I imagine it lost quite a bit of cash because, ugh, yikes. Um, but yeah, that's it. Strange World, big L, the biggest L, and that was it for November. Yeah, sad month. Like things have not been really positive. We haven't had real positive energy at the box office since like July. That was the last real happy month we've really had. And yeah, November didn't change anything. Like so, we got through 4 months of straight depression. So one would think, oh, at least we're gonna end the year with a bang. Well, well, December's already started. Started off on a weak note. I mean, Violent Night did well, but still, it's not looking like a massive improvement. So yeah, I'm just waiting. 2022 is waiting to get put out of its misery, so we can go straight forward to 2023 and hopefully to better times at the box office. So yeah, that's it. That's all. Make sure to subscribe, like this video, leave a comment, turn on notifications, share the whole drill. We'll check out more videos like this. I got playlists on the homepage for all previous um recap videos I made this year. If you want to watch any of those, go right ahead. Or any I made on the channel, you can go right ahead. There's also the box office predictions where I predict box office for movies. Every movie here, with the exception of The Chosen and Glass Onion, I made prediction videos on. So you want to watch my prediction videos on those, just to hear my analysis of these movies, what I thought they were going to make, go right ahead. And any of the other movies I've covered this year, go right ahead. There's also the canceled series where I go over all the movies that were supposed to come out but didn't. Uh, I just did a canceled episode yesterday. There's like The Flash, a whole bunch of other stuff. There's like The Flash, Mummies, Mickey 17, a lot of stuff. That was episode 167. So I might make another one soon because enough has happened for me to make a cancel episode, even though it's not going to be the most exciting one in the world, but I can still make it. So, yeah. So there's 167 episodes right now. So if you want to watch any of those, go right ahead. Binge the whole series from beginning to now. I highly encourage it. Go do it. And yeah, that's it. That's all. I am out. Goodbye.